Forecasting, Chapter 10. First of all, I have taken the notes and condensed them just for this video presentation. What you have will be longer. I'll have more information, but this is just a condensed version. And what you'll see is I have a number of little segments, and what I'm going to cover in this segment is just what you see here. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. Forecasts will almost always be wrong. It is a matter of how wrong. Why? Well, it's a lot like the weather forecast. You do your best to try to estimate the weather, and it's not always going to be right, but you just don't want it to be extremely wrong. Like, for example, if they say, oh, it's going to be 80 and sunny, you don't want it to be 30 and snowing. That would be extremely wrong with regard to the forecast. So that's the why. There are ways to deal with forecast error. You see the three ways there, but one of the ones I want to point out, which is not so obvious, is that you build more flexibility into operations and the supply chain, your suppliers. Why? Well, it's a bit like this. If your customer changes their orders and they want more of something or less of something, if you have a very flexible operation, you can say, well, you know what, if you want to change that from 500 pens to 510 pens, no problem. It won't take us long to set that up. We are very flexible. Whereas if you were very inflexible, it would be a problem. It's like, oh, it's going to take hours to set up that machine so that we can get those extra 10 parts for them. So that's really why flexibility helps us deal with forecast error. It makes us very adaptable to the change. Moving on, planning versus forecasting. And you see forecasting deals with what we think will happen in the future. And planning is how we consciously attempt to alter future events. So in my own words, the difference between forecasting and planning is this is what we think is going to happen. Okay, this is what our predictions are. And planning is based on that prediction, this is how we are going to make it happen. These are our steps that we're going to try to meet the forecast or the prediction of what our customers need. Now, forecasting, I should point out before I go any further, really is because you don't necessarily have a good amount of information from your customer. So you're saying, oh, I'm going to have to take a look at past stuff and see how well that information is an indicator of what they're going to need in the future. So that's why we're doing forecasting, as we don't know. That is the end of this segment.